Minister, you're welcome to the House. First and foremost, I want to congratulate yourself and Minister Humphreys on what has been a very good social welfare budget and is clearly setting out to look after the less well-off in our society, and that is really, really good. However, I want to devote my time today on Class K PRSI. I delivered a rapporteur's report in 2016, which I have here, which I will make available to the Minister, on Class K PRSI. Let's talk about social insurance. Social insurance is about the many contributing to look after the few. So people who get sick, people who become infirm, people who are of old age are looked after through the social insurance system. Is anybody in this country willing to pay for an insurance policy that they can never draw down anything from? Anybody paying Class K PRSI can never, ever, ever benefit from the social protection system. My colleague, Senator Burke, is 100% correct. It is now reduced from many thousands of people were paying Class K. There's now around about 1,000, maybe 1,200 people paying Class K in the state. It mainly applies to members of the judiciary and members of the Oireachtas. Most of us in the Oireachtas are in what might be regarded as precarious employment. At any stage, the electorate can decide they've had enough of us and off we go into the sunset. Take the election of 2020 as an example. A number of members of both this House and the lower house lost their seats in the middle of a pandemic, and they found themselves unemployed. They had paid 4% of their salary throughout their term in the Oireachtas, yet they had no recourse to social protection or social welfare when they found themselves unemployed. We were in the middle of a pandemic, so they couldn't go out and look for a job. That is simply unacceptable. When the case of county councillors, when I saw the PRSI being paid by county councillors, I raised a High Court action, myself one of the defendants and a number of county councillors. We took the case to the High Court. The case was never heard. It was settled outside the High Court. And it was settled on the basis that Class K PRSI is unconstitutional. There is no way on God's earth that your department can justify the taking of 4% of my salary in an insurance perspective, or from an insurance perspective, and give me absolutely nothing for it. Not only that, by taking Class K PRSI, you have eliminated me from all of the social protection guarantees that are there. I don't get dental benefit, I cannot get optical benefit, I cannot get a contributory old age pension, or if I do, it will be impacted by virtue of the fact that I do not have the required number of contributions over the period. So, it is in fact a tax on public service for judges and members of the Oireachtas. And that has been accepted by your department when it came to county councillors. It's time now to rectify the situation and decide whether or not members of this House should be on Class S, Class A, whatever class you want, but at the end of the day, do not take money out of our salary and deny us the same protections that every other employee in the country is entitled to. Moreover, in this particular precarious employment, irrespective of what age we are, we pay full PRSI. And we will continue to pay PRSI until we go to the grave or get kicked out of the house, one way or the other. That is simply unacceptable. We are workers the same as any other workers in the country. And it is my intention to bring forward a number of amendments to the Social Welfare Act in the coming days, because this simply cannot continue. It is wrong. Your department knows it's wrong. Otherwise, why would they have settled the case with the county councillors? They wouldn't have settled it had they known that they were right, because this state is well known for fighting cases to the bitter end, and in some cases fighting until such a time as the plaintiff dies rather than settle. But in the case of Class K PRSI and county councillors, they settle straight away. But Even in settling the case and moving county councillors to Class S, they denied them the retrospective recognition of the PRSI that they had paid. So members of local authorities who moved on to Class A were still not able to avail of full contributory old age pension. They were still not able to avail of dental and optical benefit and the like. So moving people on to Class S is not enough. You've taken 4% of our salary, the same as you take out of every other employee of the country. And I know there will be people watching this today and they'll be saying, bloody politicians looking after themselves. Well, thank you. I will look after myself. It's my job to look after myself. I have a family the same as every other worker in this country, and I'm entitled to look after my family and make sure that they benefit from the contributions that I have made throughout my working life. So from that point of view, I make no apology. I will fight for any worker in this country who has been denied something that they're entitled to. I spent a number of years of my life in trade unionism and spent 2 years of my life at the very top of the Teachers' Union of Ireland as its president. So I am very much aware of the needs of workers and the rights of workers and what workers should get. Just because we put ourselves forward for election is no reason why we should hide from the justifiable allowances and supports and protections that are built into our system. Our system, 101 years we're looking after workers in this country. We have an excellent social welfare system in place. So many things were brought in as a result of the financial measures in the public interest. If you look at the debate on Class K, it was introduced at the report stage of the bill by Minister Eamon O'Keefe at the time, and every debate that took place questioned the legality of what's been done. And yet it was rammed through at the time, and I understand why that happened. The country was in pretty dire straits. I had to go out and explain to my members when I was president of the Teachers' Union why they were about to take a massive pay cut. And most workers in this country took that pay cut, and we helped to build this country back up again. Why should we continue to penalise members of this House? I can't remember the exact number, but there were 5 or 6 members of the last government, last Dáil and Senate, who lost their seats during an election and had nothing to fall back on. Absolutely nothing to fall back on. And that is wrong in every sense of the word. And by the way, before people jump to all sorts of conclusions about my gold-plated pension, I am caught like every other worker in the country on the Single Pension Act. So I am. So there's no gold-plated pensions for anybody in the public service anymore. We've destroyed public service pensions in the way we have set about them, and that's why we're losing Gardaí and members of the Defence Forces, and why some of the high flyers in the public service are going into the private sector, because there is no benefit in remaining in the public sector anymore. So I would ask you, Minister, to save us all an awful lot of trouble, and when we bring forward amendments, I'm quite happy to engage with your officials behind you there and bring the amendments to them and try and get as smooth a passage as we can from Class K to whatever class. I will say this. I am not prepared to sit back and allow Class K to continue indefinitely. If we cannot, I've asked for this in every budget since 2016. If I cannot get the amendments through on this occasion, I will do what I did back in 2016, and I will revert to the High Court, and we'll have it out there. And for God's sake, please spare me, spare the state a waste of time going down to the High Court to prove what we already know. Class K PRSI is unconstitutional. If you want to tax me for being a senator, tax me. Take 4% of my salary as a tax, but call it a tax and take it through the tax system, through the revenue commissioners. Do not take my contributions through PRSI, which I will depend on as I advance in my advancing years, which are catching up on me very fast. Don't take my pension. Don't take a part of my pension. Leave me with the benefits I have been paying for all of my life. To take somebody because they've served in the Oireachtas for 5 years, to impact their old age pension, to impact their entitlement, is a criminal as far as I'm concerned. So I think I've ranted quite enough now. I will bring forward very calm amendments in the next stage when we get to committee stage.
Senators, for your constructive engagement. I'll do my best to answer your queries. Just on Senator Burke, in terms of his initial question, the pension will be based on the higher rate. On the jury service issue, look, we will talk to the Minister for Justice regarding giving an allowance in the circumstances that he outlined. So, in relation to Senator Burke's and Senator Craughwell's point on Class K, prior to the introduction of Class K in 2011, public office holders did not pay a PRSI on the income they received in that capacity. Under Budget 2011, a 4% charge effective from 1st January 2011 was introduced on the remuneration received by public office holders in that capacity, regardless of age, provided that income exceeds €5,200 per annum. It should be noted that public office holders may establish entitlement to social insurance benefits based on income generated other than as a public office holder. Where they have exited insurable employment or self-employment, public office holders can, subject to satisfying the qualifying conditions, pay voluntary contributions under that scheme. Look, I note Senator Craughwell's points. We'll certainly feed them back to Minister Humphreys as well. Senator Ardagh, just to acknowledge, I suppose, that the plan is with school meals to roll them out. They've grown, the programme has grown very significantly in the last few years. This budget has seen another large jump, but the plan is to have them widely available. That will take time, but we're accelerating quite fast in that regard. Just in relation to some of Senator Boylan's points, she noted that child benefit has not increased, but I would argue that the increase for qualified child is a much more effective and targeted payment, and that's actually has been increasing incrementally over the years as well. Just in relation to MESIL as well, the Senator will be aware of the work of the Vincenti and MESIL Research Centre, which is sponsored by my department, is an assessment of the minimum income needed to partake in everyday life. The work of the MESIL also highlights issues that may be better solved with greater access to services rather than increases in income. In this regard, having access to secondary benefits such as medical cards and supports in the areas of housing and childcare can result in significant reductions in the minimum income standards needed by households, which presents another difficulty in using the MESIL as a benchmark for the level of social welfare payments alone. The work of the MESIL Research Centre is and will continue to be a valued input into our policy making process. On an annual basis, my department already assesses the social impact of the annual budget process, including in recent years the impact of once-off measures, and I commit that we will publish a detailed social impact and assessment of Budget 2024, including the main tax and welfare measures using ESRI's switch micro-simulation model by Q1 next year. The Department also has a 3-year joint research programme on poverty and social inclusion with the ESRI. As part of this programme, the ESRI is currently working on a technical paper examining the relationship between the MESIL income standards and the CSO's at-risk of poverty thresholds. This will be published in 2024 and will add further to the evidence base on the relationship between MESIL and poverty thresholds. So at this stage, we don't propose on setting up another commission at this time. Senator Wall, you had a lot of good questions. Carers allowance means tests changed last year. 50,000 in capital is still allowable to get the full carers benefit is not means tested. The domiciliary care allowance is not means tested. On the C issue, I'll take that away for the moment. On what else have we got? Carers and the 20 years issue in terms of the long-term carers contributions. So this is based on the recognition that someone caring for this period of time will face greater challenges in building up the eligibility criteria of 520 paid contributions. If the claimant has cared for less than 20 years, the period will be registered and used for state pension if and when they have additional periods which accumulate to 20 years or more. A person with less than 20 years caring may be entitled to avail of home caring periods and the homemaker scheme, subject to existing qualifying conditions of having the 520 paid contributions. Foster caring payment, there has been some increase obviously, but the majority of it coming next year. I'm aware of this, ultimately it was a budgetary matter and obviously we'd want more sooner, and just to acknowledge the role of foster carers as well. The new long-term carers contribution in relation to foster carers. So just to clarify, it is for long-term carers of incapacitated dependents and not specifically for foster carers. However, where a foster carer is caring for a child that comes within the definition and period, the new arrangement may apply to a foster carer for the relevant duration of that care. And you had a number of comments as well, just in relation to the Green Paper, in relation to disability, and I was in the chamber this morning taking questions on this. Yes, we have extended the consultation period. I would reiterate, as I did this morning, this is a Green Paper, it is a consultation process, and really this is about us listening, the department listening, and we have been around the country, we need to do more of it. And I know there was people gathered outside the Dáil today as well, making the points as well. We have to listen to them points. I think that's my clear message to you today as well. I know there are concerns in terms of how things were done in the UK. This is not the UK system that we are proposing, I suppose, is a clear message that I want to give on that point as well. I think that covers most of the points raised. So sorry, you made the point that some people you had met had gotten letters from the department in April. The object of these letters was really to highlight supports available, including education, training and employment supports for disabled people. And these supports are entirely voluntary, and that should have been the tone of the letter, to my knowledge anyway. There's no requirement. Say it again, no requirement for anyone to engage, but important people with disabilities are aware of the supports available to them should they wish to access them as well. So if there are any outstanding issues, please follow up with me with thank you for your contributions.
Thank you, Minister. Is it